experience an entirely different side of the planet that you might not ever otherwise be able to experience. Diving to the depths of the ocean, being able to hold your breath. James Richard is thinking along the lines of what I am currently looking for to show you. James Richard has said maybe one of the nocturnal species to experience the nightlife in the way that they do. And life is so incredibly different out here. It's one of the reasons why there are so many exciting possibilities for Safari Live in the future, and for WildEarth, of course, to have that capacity to go out and to film in the middle of the night with thermal imagery and high ISO cameras and whatever else the brainchildren of, or the brains behind WildEarth happen to come up with, might just allow us a little bit more into the nighttime world of the bush. Of course, we get these moments now where we're driving about. I'm waving this light about, looking for any reflection of eyes for the nocturnal creatures that James Richard has suggested. But in the next few months, stay tuned, because you never know when things might start to change and we might get to explore a different aspect of the life out here. And speaking about driving about at odd times, Ginny, you're wondering why there are no safaris out here in the middle of the day. And Ginny, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, even in midwinter, the temperatures can get very, very warm, but in summer it would be, for us as the guides and as the cameramen, the people out in the field, it would be absolutely, sure, it would be impossible for us. First of all, even in our late afternoon sunset safaris in the middle of summer, our camera equipment sometimes overheats and shuts down. Brian, you can imagine what it would be like to work in the middle of the day.
I know what it's like to work.
You do know? Actually, that's a very good point. Brian did used to wonder about the Kalahari. That's what you're talking about, yeah. Brian, when he was working for WildEarth in the Kalahari, he used to wander about in the middle of the day filming meerkat. Absolutely incredible. I take my hat off to him, because having experienced our midday temperatures, it can be phenomenally energy sapping. And yes, actually, my old job, I used to work a little bit longer into the middle of the day, and it was exhausting. But most importantly, besides for the equipment safety and for personnel safety, most importantly, the animals are generally, first of all, the elephants are more grumpy. The animals are very, very stationary, usually hiding away in the shade. The best times to be out in safari are first thing in the morning, just as the sun is rising, or just before first light, and at this time of the day as temperatures start to cool. Unfortunately, the Nkumas played a trick on us and managed to disappear across our boundary far earlier than I expected them to be up and walking. But yes, those are sort of the main reasons why we don't operate in the middle of the day. And it's very much a safari tradition. You go out on game drive first thing in the morning as a guest. You can go for a bit of a walk at around 11 o'clock if you wish to, but generally that middle of the day is, those 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the day are for catching up on office work. Somewhere with a nice fan would be ideal. And also bearing in mind, of course, that the days would then be exceptionally long, with early morning first light wake up, not even wake up, being out at first light, and closing the work after the sun has gone down would definitely change things. But in the middle of the night, on the other hand, things could well be changing in the future. Back to the discussion we were having earlier, lots of you suggesting that you would be elephants. If you had to pick one animal to be, that is the one that you would go with. I can understand that. I think it would be absolutely fascinating, first of all, just to experience that bulk in that way, that tremendous amount of weight. And then also from there, the coordination of the trunk, the sense of smell, even just experiencing their poor eyesight would be a lesson in itself from that perspective. And maybe we would understand better some of the behaviors that we see exhibited that we can't explain all the time. And I wonder if, I think in my scenario, it would also allow us to hear those rumbles that they make. Those low frequency rumbles, we only catch the tail end. Whoopsie daisy. All right, little scrub hare. Shame. Off he goes. That was a scrub hare. It's the only type of the shives in Memphis. Unfortunately, our little scrub hare has managed to escape us, but you are asking to see a scrub hare. I'll keep my eye out for a slightly better sighting so that we can have a look. The only member of the rabbits and the hare family that we see here. We don't get any of the southern African rabbit species like the Jamison's rock rabbit, the riverine rabbit. None of them occur in this area. Oh. Our beard, when I mentioned that the middle of the day was for office work and for admin work, our beard has just, apparently I've just burst a tremendous bubble about their impressions about the bush, the fact that we do admin and office work. Unfortunately, there's no escaping emails out here, or indeed various different admin requirements. For example, the cameraman at the end of the day, if they've had a spectacular sighting or even just a sighting that needs noting, they have to go and they have to archive, and we've got tremendous archives of all of the labeled, dated sightings that we've had with the different animals. That's just one of the many tasks that have to be fulfilled. I'm very good, however, Arbeard, at avoiding most admin. It is one of my special talents. I have something of an aversion to such things. I do have to occasionally conquer it. I do my best to overcome this weakness in my character, but emails and myself don't really get on terribly well. Technology and I, actually, to be completely honest, don't get on terribly well. But our beard, never fear. No matter... Our beard's got his fingers in his ears. He's not listening, not interested in hearing what I had to say. Our beard, if you could remove your fingers from your ears just for the next sentence. Let me put it this way. I promise you that there is no better setting on earth in which to do one's admin work than looking out of the window, perhaps at an elephant browsing on the leaves outside, or running outside in mid-email to chase the monkeys away from whatever they happen to be up to next, or whatever else you happen to be experiencing. Plus, there's no sirens and no traffic. I hope that makes you feel slightly better about, or slightly restores your perception of life in the bush. just as we went through that dip back there, I started to feel the first nip of the evening. Something that it's one of those autumn things where the temperatures skyrocket in the afternoon and then plummet right down. I say plummets, they go down to, at the moment, around the high 50s, mid 60s. That's where our temperatures are sitting right now. We do have a question about our actual winter as opposed to autumn temperatures. And Erin and Angela, you were both wondering about, oh, there we go, here's a scrub here, sorry, stand by on that question. As we come to a gentle and subtle halt. There you go, this is for our viewer in Memphis. Scrub hair, they are terribly sweet with those large ears and velvety fur. Let's try for one last view. See how even with the scrub hair, that is now behind the bush, but even with the scrub hair, I'm not sure if you've noticed how its tail is highlighted in black, just like we have with a lot of the antelope species. The back of lion's ears, total black rather than white. And black is a color that stands out particularly in the bush. Come on, boy, I need you to turn your back on me so I can show the viewers what I'm talking about. There you go. You can see it a little bit there. Fluffy whitish underside, but with dark on top. And you can interpret that in whichever way you wish. It might be a way for youngsters to follow the scrub hare about. So he's nibbling on some grass there. Of course, baby hares, unlike baby rabbits, it's one of the things that sets the two apart. Baby hares are born precocial. In other words, they are born like little miniature adults ready to run about and play and hop and skip and jump. Most importantly, escape predators. So following mom is probably a very good idea. That shadow looks like a shadow puppet made from hands, just by the way, with the scrub hair. Baby rabbits, on the other hand, are altricial when they're born. In other words, born blind, with no fur, in burrows, where they have time to develop. Ooh, big stretch. Oh, having a good nibble between the toes. Very, very warm welcome to Drew in Johannesburg, who is a long-term viewer. But this is actually the first time that Drew has ever sent through a question. Well, it's wonderful to have you, Drew. Glad to hear from you. You were wondering about red spotlights and what my opinion is on tinting the light slightly red. And just to explain that for any other viewers who aren't as familiar with spotlighting practice, we do not spotlight daytime animals, and the reason that we do not do that is because they are not able to reflect the light back in the same way nocturnal creatures like the scrub hare are able to. In other words, when you do shine a spotlight on them for a protracted period of time, a white spotlight, you will run the risk of potentially not damaging their eyesight permanently, but you will slowly detract from their ability to see in the night for the next half an hour or up to an hour. So what Drew is asking about is the practice of tinting a spotlight so that only the red layers can go through. So it's a red light rather than the bright white light that I'm using at the moment. Drew, my honest opinion, I have used one before. It still made me highly uncomfortable to spotlight an animal, a daytime animal with it, even though I know that it doesn't have an impact on that animal's vision nearly as much as a white spotlight does. I believe in not doing anything. It's not necessary to view a daytime animal at night. We get plenty of opportunity to do so during the day. So if, for example, you wanted to use it at night during a hunt, you're still going to run the risk of interfering with that hunt in some way, whether it is to give away the predator's position or whether it is just to make that prey species a little bit more distracted. And my personal opinion is that it isn't as necessary, or it isn't that necessary out here. You can accomplish the same amount with the white spotlight, plus it allows you to see slightly further, so you've got a greater chance of spotting an animal further in the bush, an animal like a leopard or a white-tailed mongoose or whatever nocturnal creature you happen to be looking for. Now this is a slightly better penetrative ability. Now that's sort of where my opinion forms in terms of red-tinted spotlights, or the other approach is to use green as well. But I don't feel that it makes a tremendous difference, and I feel like if you are not comfortable using a spotlight in a situation, then it shouldn't matter if it's got a red tint or a green tint. Yes, it doesn't interfere with their vision as much, or nearly as much, but you still shouldn't be using it, if you understand what I mean. Very important to have good spotlighting ethics. Back to Erin and Angela, just because I know I was in the middle of answering your question before I stopped for that scrub hair. You were wondering about the minimum temperatures, or the temperatures in winter, and the length of the days. So the answer to the temperatures is, during the night, it will go down to around, around 0, maybe between 0 and 5 degrees centigrade, so 32 up to about 40 degrees in Fahrenheit. And then during the day, it will go right up to mid-20s, low to mid-20s, so the mid-70s in Fahrenheit. Those are my rough Fahrenheit conversions. It still gets warm enough to walk around in a t-shirt, sometimes even shorts, in the middle of winter. Not always. Sometimes the days are very, very cold, and they don't go over, for us, very, very cold. They don't even go over 10 degrees. But the bit that catches you is driving about in an open vehicle like we're doing now, with the wind chill factor. We feel as though we feel it quite badly, but the cameramen sitting up above us and further back bear the brunt of it. So we all dress up like miniature Eskimos with our multiple layers when we go out in midwinter. In terms of daylight hours, the sun rises at around 6:30 and sets at around 5:30, which equates to, or about 5:15 probably on the shortest day. What does that equate to? That equates to 10 and a half. Let's go with 10 and a half odd hours of daylight, unless I've got my maths completely confused. 6, yeah, that sounds about right. 10 and a half hours odd, maybe 10 on the shortest day of the year would be the amount of daylight we have. So at our particular latitude, we don't go through the same extremes of day length when it comes to summer and winter as some of the areas in Europe, for example, or for Canada, the northern United States, with those long, long summer days and those short, short winter days. That's a really, really nice idea. To go back to the conversation we were having about what animals we would be, Shannon has actually suggested being the animal that you are scared of for the day. Just for the day, so that in future, maybe you won't be scared of that animal again. I like that. I think that's a really nice idea. That being said, spending a day as a centipede for me, centipedes of course being my secret, deepest, darkest, not fear, just slight discomfort when it comes to centipedes. Spending a day as a centipede, I suppose I could do that. I could definitely do that. And for those of you arachnophobes out there, spending a day as a spider trying to figure out how to coordinate all 8 legs might be incredibly entertaining. You could spend time spinning a web, or for those of you that are absolutely terrified of snakes, you could be a snake for the day and spend time slithering about. Personally, I still haven't made my mind up yet. I'm still tossing up. I've also thought about a wild dog now, because I think having that kind of speed and stamina might be great fun. Race through the bush at high speed. Quite a few of you have also suggested a wild dog would be your preference as well. Oh, it's another scrub here. Every now and again, the glint of the light catches one's eye. I'm not going to stop for it. Oh, squeaky. For too long. We're here on quarantine clearings for the last few moments of our sunset safari. And I'm checking really carefully because I would say the last 5 or so days, there have been hyenas every time I've driven from the main camp back to where I live. I've been trying to work out who they are, but unfortunately I haven't managed just yet. What do you suppose that is, Brian? Is it just a funny...
Wasp's nest.
Is it a wasp's nest? Oh, that's awesome. It's a paper wasp nest, hiding in the tree. It's amazing how something like that will catch your eye as you drive past. Just a small little shape that looks just slightly wrong for what you're looking for. But speaking of hyenas, as we do a perusal of quarantine, Karen, you were wondering if there are any hyena clans in the neighboring areas. The one that we know of around sort of from the eastern edge of Arathusa to the western into Elephant Plains is a very, very large clan. I don't know if that clan has a specific name. I just know it is the Elephant Plains clan, and I think that's because they usually den around Elephant Plains. We suspect that our clan's territory runs very far around to even towards Cheetah Plains, but definitely into Torchwood and into Buffelshoek. But beyond that, we actually don't really know of the clan dynamics any further beyond our own clan. But yes, there will most definitely be neighboring clans. It's just a question of, and I would love to know exactly how big the territories of the different hyena clans are out in this area, in this specific environment. Because of course an animal's territory size very much depend on the type of ecosystem and the type of habitat that we get to. As we come to the end of our sunset safari, I didn't quite manage to get to the hyena den. Never fear, for those of you wishing me a happy leave, thank you very much. I will probably be driving on tomorrow's sunrise safari. That will very much depend upon whether or not the camera is fixed. But in case I am not, I'm going to say farewell to you all for a little while. Of course, as you know, we go on regular break periods just because we work all week. We work 7 days a week for 6 weeks. But I will be back. I would tell you what my plans are, but I haven't actually fully formulated them yet. I'll let you know once I'm back what I decided to do. But thank you all for your very kind well wishes. Hopefully for the sunrise safari tomorrow, the Nkuhumas might decide to come back. Or, who knows, you never know where Junior might be hiding. Although I would strongly advise him, if I could speak to him, not to come wandering across in this direction, not with the Birmingham boys about. Or, you never know, Karuna might decide to come back on. You'll just have to, onto Juma, you will just have to tune in to tomorrow's sunrise safari to find out. And on that subject, a very big thank you to Brian for all of his fantastic camera work. And as always, the participation and the much beloved Thumb. Thank you, Thumb. As well as to Sam and to Dave, unfortunately cut short, and to Kirsty and Lou in final control. Most importantly, thank you to you all. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.